All right, good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday, February the 15th. If you made it past Valentine's Day, you're here. All right, and John Chapman's in the house. We're going to do a little dual podcast, a little dual YouTube live stream, I should say, and we're going to do a little mock draft, offense only this week, and we're going to review the Niners roster top to bottom. Brought to you by Pig and a Pickle. Let's go. All right, good morning to all. Hope everybody had a great night. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle. They bring to you the Krug Show meets the John Chapman 49er Rush podcast experience. Hope you guys are having a great Saturday. We're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week. There's no excuse to not get some barbecue. Go check out Pig and a Pickle. We're also brought to you by Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles. They're at 205 Cypress Avenue in Pacific Grove, California, along the Monterey Peninsula. My good friend Anthony Catania is down there at 831-521-5264. And today's live stream is brought to you by our good friends at BetUS. That's right, BetUS. With BetUS, you get the fastest payouts in the industry and easy withdrawals. We'll do a live wager during the stream through BetUS, and you see BetUS signage right there above John's head. John, good to see you, man. How are you?
Man, I'm doing great. Excited. We're so close to the combine. We're getting to know a lot more about these draft prospects, and just pumped to be recorded with you, man. We've been doing this a couple weeks now, and I'm enjoying it. We always go crazy in depth, and I'm hoping we can do the same thing today.
Well, you know, it's so funny. My friend Ryan Fowler, who I had on from the Draft Network, and he's a young guy who's been on the road covering the draft. He's a good guy. I don't know if you know Fowler, but he put out a list the other day of the guys who got skipped for the combine. And I was like, you know, it's always an interesting list, but there's always one guy on there. But this year, I couldn't believe the guys who got snubbed for the combine. Like my guy, Willie Lampkin, the 5'10", 285-pound center from North Carolina, snubbed. That one surprised me a lot. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, John, he was the MVP of the Shrine Game, the Arizona running back, snubbed, not invited to the combine. Those two really stood out. Marcus Ware, the center/guard, he played right tackle at Montana State, who I really like in the draft. I thought he looked amazing in the drills that I saw in, I guess it was Shrine practice. He got snubbed from the combine. And then the guy that I bought the NIL shirt from, Nash Hutmacher, the other side of the Nebraska duo inside, which is a monster. Nash didn't get invited. And there were others, Carter Runyon.
Shiloh. I thought Shiloh would be on there for sure, but he got snubbed as well.
R.J. Oben, Chandler Martin, the linebacker from Memphis, Strigow, the defensive end the Niners met with at the Hula Bowl from Minnesota. I mean, there was a bunch of guys who I thought would get invited and didn't. And somebody asked me the question, why don't they invite the entire group? And you know what? There's probably 1,000 people that are eligible for the draft. There's only going to be 250 or 265 or whatever drafted. Why do you think they don't grow the combine and invite more guys? Because it seems like they're just making more work for themselves. If you don't, they're still going to have reports on Nash Hutmacher. They're still going to have reports on Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. They're just going to make some position coach probably get on some airplane and fly out to some regional workout or some campus workout in March to get the final numbers. Why don't they just invite more guys to this event? What do you think?
Yeah, the NFL kind of, the way that they go through this is they put out their initial list. Every single team can submit, hey, add this guy. We would like to know this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. And if they get referenced and called on by multiple teams, then they usually add them. But the NFL is now trying to balance this. Hey, we're televising this whole damn thing, and now it's a big ticket item. So the time crunch and everything they're trying to keep in there. So it's a weird balance. I do like that it will bring some more attention to the pro days, which are always a lot of fun. So Thankfully, the 49ers got a good budget and they'll be traveling out there. But yeah, there were about 4 to 5 names where I was just like, oh, I was not expecting that. And so puts a little chip on their shoulder. And the Niners are one of the teams that are the uncovered rock type team where they go digging deep. So I don't think that this really hurts the Niners as it does some other teams that try to pinch pennies with their owners. The 49ers, we don't have that problem, thankfully. So hopefully it's an advantage for the 49ers because they're willing to go that extra mile.
Well, we titled the stream 49er roster review, so let's do this. Let's just go right down the roster and give some thoughts here, because we are kind of in that, that stage where there's a lot of different thoughts out there, and not everybody sees it the same. So let's just go, before we get into any kind of a mock, and we will do a mock today. We're going to go an offensive only mock, or well, I don't know if should we make it offensive only or just offensive emphasized. We could,
yeah, we if we see something we want to jump out, but I think whatever we've done 2 very defensive heavy things, and I like the kind of like idea of look, let's focus on some offensive targets that you can get in every round. But yeah, we want to go. This is our show, Larry. We want to get crazy. Let's get crazy.
We can do what we want. All right. Let's get into the depth chart here, and here I shared the screen so everybody could see the Niner depth chart. And why don't we start right there at the top with the quarterbacks? What is your ideal situation right now? You got Brock Purdy. It sounds like they're working towards a contract agreement. To me, the most compelling audio of the week on the Purdy stuff, or compelling news, if you want to call it that, was the Breer sit down with Rich Eisen, where he's like, hey, you know what? I think it's going to be very similar to the Goff contract. And I thought, wow, that's crazy. He's got the Goff, he's making the Goff comparison. And then, Kevin, I looked at the numbers, and if you extrapolate it out, it's like 56.4 million AAV. And, the report from Diana Rossini during the Super Bowl week was between 55 and 60. So it kind of all jives. But it's like, it was so specific that it made me think that Breer got spilled that information, or somebody said that to him. We're just supposed to believe that Albert Breer guessed that, that Brock would get a Jared Goff, comp contract. I mean, there's reasoning that he could have come to that conclusion without some help, but this guy covers every team in the league. I don't think he's got time. I think when he rolls in to talk to the Niners, he's not like, let me figure this out through hours and hours. He's got to look at the Jets and the Colts and the Falcons and everything else. So he rolls in. He wants the answers to the test. And I've seen this guy roll into camp before. He goes right up to Lynch, right up to Shanahan, right up to Mayoko, and just tries to get the quick skinny on the team. So I just don't believe that he's just guessing. I think that he had somebody told him that. But that would be interesting. And, the Goff contract, I think, would, 56.4 sounds high for some, but it's definitely not setting new records. So that's a good thing. If that is indeed the contract, I mean, and then looking at the quarterbacks here, you got Brock, and then you don't have anybody else, or you have Mordecai, but you don't have Dobbs, you don't have Brandon Allen. They're both free agents. So, what did you think of the Breer revelation on Brock, and then what do you think overall of the quarterback position?
I respect Breer so much, especially whenever it comes to contracts and business and like front office dealings. He's probably one of the best in the NFL. Like, he has the belts on the wall. Like you said, he walks straight up to ownership, and like that's a normal thing for him. So I think you do pay attention. If you told me that Brock was going to get a 56 million, average per year, I'd sign up right now. I think he's going to get a little bit more than that. So I would be totally fine with that. Brock will get signed. The APY is not really what's important. It's, the total guarantees, the built-in restructures, all that. We'll have to analyze that once it gets here. But you've got Brock and you've got Mordecai. You've got to get an experienced backup, which I would like to do, but a cheap one. We've talked Joe Flacco. There's Jacoby Brissett. There's lots of guys out there. And, you've got your kind of clickbait stuff. They're going to talk Aaron Rodgers. They're going to talk all these other. I don't think that those are even in the realm of possibility with this roster. So I would like somebody, whether that's, I prefer a long in the tooth gray beard type quarterback than I would some of these, Justin Fields or, fill in the blank, the
Mac
2021 draft bust.
Jones.
Yeah. I want to stay away from those types of guys personally. So I would prefer somebody that is longer in the tooth and experienced backup with playoff experience that could step in a moment's notice. That's what I would prefer.
Yeah, my thought. I mean, I've had a bunch of different thoughts on it. I had a Riley Leonard flirtation there for a while, where I'm like, man, I really think there's magic in Riley Leonard. But the more I watch him, the more I'm not sure if he's the guy. I kind of like the quarterback that spent 7 years in college, Tyler Shugg. But the more I look at him, the more I don't like him. And that's kind of where I'm at basically with a lot of the draft prospects. I like them a lot early, and then the more I watch, the more glitches I see. And then by the time draft day rolls around, I can see flaws in 95% of the prospects. But I would say a quarterback room that would be ideal to me would be Purdy, Mordecai, goodbye Dobbs, goodbye Allen, and either sign Joe Flacco or Andy Dalton. Give me the veteran who's won games. Give me the veteran who's a little bit more established and proven than Dobbs and Allen. Give me the veteran who's a little bit more financially, substantial than Brandon Allen, and maybe a little bit more successful in their career than Dobbs. And give me Mordecai as the third, and then I'll play the draft if there's some 49er, scout or personnel person that's super hot to trot, who was hot to trot on Brock Purdy and now is hot to trot on some other quarterback. Maybe I'll invest a day 3 pick in a quarterback, and who knows? Maybe we'll see in this mock draft. Maybe we'll try one, but I don't necessarily need that. I think Purdy, Flacco, Mordecai would be ideal for me. Purdy, Dalton, Mordecai would be pretty close to ideal. That's kind of where I'm at this year on the quarterback. I mean, there's a different way to play it every year. That's how I'd play the quarterback position for them this year.
I like it. And you have the centerpiece. And so however you want to address that quarterback 3 competition, should be Tanner Mordecai versus somebody, and the winner gets the quarterback 3 spot and the loser goes down to practice squad. But that number 2, I don't want Mordecai to be in competition there. I want it to be an established.
Yeah, I agree. Let's go to running back, because it's another position that has a lot of questions and a lot of answers, right? Because you have Christian McCaffrey. He's obviously signed up. His dad says he's healthy now. I don't know how that could be possible, but what did he get? He got rid of Achilles tendonitis in both Achilles. It seems like, is it quieted down or gone? I mean, there's a difference between those two things. So McCaffrey's dad says he's healthy, and I want to believe he's healthy, but I got to remember that, the chances are that he may not be. And then you've got Jordan Mason, who's a restricted free agent. So that means that he can't necessarily leave, but
he'll be back.
And some people have said, oh, he's gone. And I'm like, wait. He's a restricted free agent. He's most definitely not gone. He might be gone if they decide to move off of him, but he almost
When was
surely...
the time the Niners have lost a restricted free agent since Shanahan's been here?
That was exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
It's like they haven't, so that I can think of, or if they have, it's all by design. Then there's Isaac Guerrero, and Elijah Mitchell's a free agent. Patrick Taylor Jr. is a free agent. You still have Juszczyk, but you got to decide if he's going to be a cap casualty or not. And then there's Izzy Abanaconda, who's at least our lads list on the roster. I don't know if Izzy is part of what they have going forward or not. I mean,
so he's on the roster because he's still on that rookie contract. But the problem is, we never saw him, and we saw all the injuries. Was it just a redshirt year? Is he going to compete for a practice squad spot, whatever else? But the best thing about Israel Abanaconda, is he's cheap. He's free, and now he's been in the system. So now a little bit. And I don't think he'll compete for the number 1, 2, or 3 spot, but he could be that number 5 guy or a practice squad guy that you can call up if somebody gets hurt.
I think he's got as much talent as Patrick Taylor and probably better speed. So I'm eager to see him, but we didn't get the chance to see him this year. So running back wise, you're going to have 5 running backs usually. Last year, McCaffrey, Mason, Guerrero, Mitchell, and then Taylor and Juszczyk. So I guess they technically had 6. I guess they moved Taylor off of the practice squad. So 5 on the roster, 6. Right now you've got McCaffrey, Juice, Mason, Garendo, and Abinaconda. So right now, you have five. You could probably use a back for sure. I almost guarantee you they'll draft a back. It's a great draft for running backs. So I definitely expect them to draft a running back. I don't know if they'll sign one. Kenneth Gainwell's out there from the Eagles, who's interesting to me. But the other one that
Gainwell.
the other name that came up this week for running back, and I don't know what the running back market's going to look like, and I don't know the Niners thinking. But I do know Najee Harris, and I know that he's a Bay Area kid, and I know he would love to play for the Niners, and I know the agent pretty well, Doug Hendrickson. I love Najee as a power back. The Niners might need a power element, to punch it in inside the five. I gotta think that he's going to get more money than they can afford in free agency, but maybe not. I mean, he doesn't have great numbers. And I don't know. It's like I'm not sure how the league views Najee and what kind of market he's going to have, what kind of market there'll be for running backs in a year where the draft is so deep with running backs. But I'll tell you, if they were going to splurge for any offensive back, I love Najee Harris, man. I think Najee Harris could help the 49ers run the ball inside the five. I think he could be a power complement to McCaffrey that could be really, really good. I love what I saw from Mitchell in his career. He's got great instincts. I like Jordan Mason, but there's something wrong there. I'm not sure what's the problem, but there's some issue. And then Garendo he's a great athlete, and I think he's a great receiver, but I don't see a running back per se. I almost see like the replacement for Juice. But
His
I've been saying
vision
that
has to improve. I
he's
mean,
not a running back.
it's just he can't see the hole to save his life. Now,
Right.
the inside runs, that's the thing, is you got Isaac Garendo, who has the talent. And I think you were one of the first ones that kind of identified what he brings to the table. It's speed and size. But whatever, you can't run him outside because he just doesn't see outside zone. That's hard. So all of his big plays were predominantly inside that were prescribed. Look, you're running through this hole. You have to kind of take that away from him. Well, time in the system develop that. And I think the depth chart is beneficial to Garendo in the fact that if McCaffrey is back and if Jordan Mason is back, he gets to actually learn a little bit. He got some playing time, but I don't know. If I'm doing my depth chart, it's CMC, Jordan Mason, Isaac Garendo. That's 1, 2, 3. You brought up the issues with Jordan Mason. Brock Purdy won't throw it to him no matter if he's open or not. So like that's an issue, but dude led the NFL in rushing through 6 weeks. And so he's awesome. It's just, man, you don't trust him in the pass game. I don't know why they don't, but they will not give him a chance. So you've got a lot of talent. You got a lot of youth. You got a lot of explosiveness, but none of it is safe, even with CMC and his not one but two Achilles. I wish we still had Cody Schrader. I wish he didn't get poached off our roster.
That's a good call. Yeah, no, because Schrader had a nice little year with the Rams down there, and he's got a lot of talent, and I really liked him as well. But it's a great draft for running backs, and I think there's going to be plenty of opportunities to supplant, or to add to this mix. The big question at running back is, do you make Juice a cap casualty and try to find another fullback in the draft or in free agency? And then the other thing with Garendo is I see Garendo, if they can't find the receiver they want, I could see them without Ayuk in the early part of the year trying to use Garendo, as a receiver, just to get some speed and some athleticism on the field. He's got good hands. He's not going to run the deep routes, but he definitely has explosive capability. I could see them utilizing him as a receiver if they can't find a receiver and they're down Debo and Ayuk in the first half of the year. But what's your vibe on Juice? Do you want to bring Juice back for another year, or do you want to move off?
I do want to bring him back. I think that we saw him most effective when his snap counts were where they should be, in that 20 to 25 snaps per game. At the end of the season, he was cooking. He was doing great things. But whenever you had the injuries and you turned him into your third down back, that's not what he is. So, I mean, he's a team captain voted on by the players, brings so much versatility in special teams. He could back up every single position, whether that's snapper, punter, kicker, holder, third down back, whatever. I think the roster is better with guys like Kyle Juszczyk around. Now, if you cut them, you save $3.5 million. Yeah, that's the difference. That's a DFF guaranteed contract. That's what we're paying our punter, Mitch Wisnowski. I think he provides more value than that. So I'm probably in the minority in the fact that I want Kyle Juszczyk back, but I would not be shocked if he's gone, as he has zero guaranteed dollars after that pay cut he took last year. So you can move on from him. You're saving $3.5 million. Is that enough to move the line for another position? I don't know. I think you let him play out this deal. He already took the pay cut.
He's such a hard player to replace because there are not a lot of fullbacks out there, period. And then you got to decide, do you want to do what other teams have done and make bigger linemen a fullback? You know, they don't really use a fullback in the true sense of the word. They use them differently. So it's really about how do you want to use them, and then if you didn't want to bring him back, could Garendo do some of those things? Could you pick up a bigger player that you think could give you a little bit more thump? I'm probably looking to move off, especially because I just feel like you got a Pro Bowl fullback and you can't run in short yardage, and that to me is totally unacceptable. And it's like, if he was younger, maybe I'd keep him around. I mean, I could be convinced to keep him around for another year, but I think I would like to try to find a replacement if I could. Let's move to tight end, because tight end's another spot. There's Kittle, and Kittle's amazing still, even though he's a 2017 draft pick. But after that, man, if you put the Holiday Fogger in the tight end room, I'd be fine with that. I mean, Eric Saubert, he can block a little. Braden Willis shows me very little. Tongus, I thought, had really good hands, but he does not a very strong inline blocker.
And they didn't give him a chance. Whenever we had all the injuries and George Kittle was out, like, you still barely saw him play.
I know. And he caught the ball very naturally in practice. I kind of like the way Tongus catches the ball. And then, on the practice squad, you have Mason Pline, and I know they like Mason Pline. They gave him a full redshirt year this year, and I think there's going to be real potential for Pline as a receiver. So I look at next year's tight end room, and I say, okay, there's going to be Kittle, and there's going to be Pline. And then everybody else, I don't know. I think this is a 2 tight end draft for the Niners, or a 2 tight end offseason. I think I would look at Tommy Tremble in free agency, and I would definitely pick off a tight end or 2 in the draft. Do you want to keep any of those other guys?
No.
Do you want Tongus, Willis, or Saubert?
No, Saubert's gone. The one thing you have to credit Saubert is he was healthy, played in every game, never got injured, but his snaps were bad. He hurt special teams. He hurt the offensive running game. He hurt the offensive passing game. We really missed out on that Brock Wright contract that the Detroit Lions matched. Like, that could have been a difference maker. You got to go get somebody that can play that tight end 2 spot, and you've got to draft. Like, I think you're moving forward with one, and you're hoping Mason Pline blossoms into something, but this might be a 2-year project. Like, you said, he got the red shirt year. He might get a gray shirt year. Because that dude had played football. I love the talent. He looked great in training camp. You were there. It's just, this dude's learning. And tight end is the hardest position in the NFL to transition from college to the NFL. It's the most difficult. And so not only is he transitioning college to NFL, Mason Pline, he's learning football. This dude was a basketball player, So I like him. I really, really do. But as a tight end 3, kind of goal line, sub package only, and special teams only this year, and then maybe could blossom into that, that's what I would love. But I hope they keep Mason Pline, but you got to move forward with a tight end 2 and a tight end 3 being added, period.
Okay, so people have asked me from time to time, Krug, why are you so, so all down for the cause for Mason Pline? Explain it to me. Are you related to Mason Pline? Somebody asked me. I'm like, no, I'm not related to Mason Pline. I think this is my scouting lineage, is that I see traits in this guy that are just off the charts. So give me an example. I'll give you an example. He's a mechanical engineering major. Okay, so I do know enough about mechanical engineering to know that you got to be really, really, really smart to be a mechanical engineering major. Those guys are really smart. To give you a perspective on this, the last guy the Niners got that was a mechanical engineering major was Jack Coletto, the fullback. And
Oregon
Juice
State.
told me one day in camp that Jack Coletto was the smartest football player that he had ever come across. He's like, yeah, this, and Juice went to Harvard, and he's like, yeah, Coletto's one of the smartest football players I've ever come across. I mean, he's just like really, really smart kid, right? I don't know if Coletto had quite the physical, right? So he moved on, but he was smart, and this guy's incredibly smart. And then he's got the basketball background, and he's not just a basketball player; he's an above the rim basketball player. So I mean, this guy's a jumper. So I mean, just when you've got 40-inch vert and you're 6'8" and you're a mechanical engineering major, yeah, I'll take a year and a half to invest in you because you're smart. I mean, I think, intelligence is probably the most underrated aspect of being a pro football player, and especially for the Niners, especially on offense, especially at fullback and tight end, because there's so much shifting, so much motion, so many things to remember. It's just like it just crushes the dumb. You have to be smart to play tight end or fullback for the Niners because of all the movement and all the variation of formation and personnel grouping and that kind of thing. So I love him as a prospect, but as John said, he's totally right. You gave him the redshirt year to shake off basketball and get to football, but next year is going to be like the second redshirt year where you're on the roster, but you're not really doing too much. I think he's probably a year 3 type proposition. Let's jump to receiver, John, because receiver's the other interesting spot here. No question. I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, why don't we go to our BetUS right here before we'll get that out of the way. If you head over to BetUS.com, use the promo code YouTube150, you'll get 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit, 125% sign-up bonus on your next 2 deposits up to $2,000. We will unshare the screen on the roster for just a second, and we will share the screen on our BetUS option here. There we go. Here we go. Okay, hold on. There we go. Here we go. So the football props are out for the different NFL specials. So is there a prop that you'd like to take a look at between Cooper Kupp, Deebo Samuel, Myles Garrett, T. Higgins?
Is there an option to bet if a player's going to be cut on Cooper Kupp? Because I think Cooper Kupp's being released. I think Debo's going to be released as well. Actually,
let's check both those. We'll check both. We'll check Kupp, Deebo, and Garrett. Let me move this other thing out of the way, and we'll see what it looks like. Yep, here we go.
Oh, it's the next team.
That's the next team. Option. And that's for Cooper Kupp, and the Niners are not listed here, I don't believe.
Man, you could just go through and bet the Steelers on both of them.
Steelers are number 1 on Cooper Kupp.
Yeah.
Okay, so then the Deebo Samuel next team, you got Washington's the favorite there. So some people have listed the Steelers as the favorite for Deebo as well. They're listed here at 8-1. Chargers at 4-1, Commanders at 3-1, Panthers at 5-1. I think it's going to be Denver. If you told me where would Deebo go, I'd go with Denver at 6-1 there.
And my thing is this: Debo's huge about being home. He does not come out here to train. He has complained about the San Francisco nightlife. He wants to be home. So Carolina is going to be a little bit of a back bet for me. If he gets released and gets to pick where he goes, it's going to be on the East Coast. I can guarantee you that. If he gets his choice. And I don't know. Carolina is a little intriguing to me at plus 500. If he's cut, I don't think they trade for him, but
it's an interesting. Well, this is not necessarily a trade. This is just his next team.
Yeah.
If not the Niners, the only reason I would say Denver is because I've read a long article this week that Sean Payton is all about getting his joker position filled this offseason, which was the Taysom Hill position.
Taysom Hill about quarterback. To be cut. He's about to get cut.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe he'll go for Taysom Hill. Maybe he'll try to bring Taysom Hill. But I also could see him bringing Deebo, wildcat quarterback, running back, H-back, kind of jack of all trades. I could see him looking at Deebo. Deebo also put himself in his own story in a Broncos uniform. Did you see that?
I did.
And was like, oh, man, look how tough this looks. So I don't know if he's dreaming the Bronco dream, but Broncos or Panthers are probably pretty live here. Let's go Panthers because of the hometown, and we'll put 20 on it. We'll see what.
They'd
Oh
be able
wait,
to
was
pay
it
him the most.
the maximum? Oh, the
Is 10
maximum is
bucks.
10. Oh wow.
Yeah, they scared. They're scared. That's what that
They don't.
means.
There you go. We got 5-1 though, so they're worried that we have inside knowledge. So we're gonna go Debo to the Panthers for $10 to win 50. So there you go. Thanks to BetUS. Again, sign up at betus.com. Use the code YouTube150 and claim your offer. BetUS, a fantastic sponsor of the Krug Show, and we thank them for sponsoring our show. Now, we'll go back to the Niners depth chart. So we'll get through this a little bit. We're talking receivers here. So Ayuk's going to miss a good chunk of the year. You say how much? I don't know, John, but I would say he's probably going to be gone until Thanksgiving. Ooh. Debo, I think we know is gone. Juwan Jennings is back. So you got Jennings. Your wide receiver room is Jennings, Pearsall, and Cowing. And then whatever you can get out of Ayuk after the injury. Conley's a free agent. Debo's moving on one way or another. Then you go down to the practice squad. They do have some practice squad options. They signed Isaiah Hodgins. I really like that pickup. They also still have Tariq Owens, Trent Taylor, and Russell Gage. So what is your thought on the receiving core as we hit the offseason here?
I think you need a veteran presence. I think this is the area, not saying you shouldn't draft a wide receiver, which was my take before the Debo trade stuff and whatever came out. You need veteran help. You already have 2 young pups that the 49ers are struggling to get involved. Ricky Pearsall flashed late, of course. Jacob Cowing, not at all. He had that 150-yard reception, then didn't get targeted for, I think, 7 consecutive weeks after that. So you have the young developmental guys. Go get somebody with experience that can play more than one spot so that you can cover your Ayuk basis early, and then you can move the veteran to another option. So I want somebody with outside-inside versatility. I want somebody that is a deep threat. I need a veteran presence added to this wide receiver room if it was my decision.
So you have a lot of prerequisites there. I mean, you're painting a very very specific kind of picture, and I agree with you. And more so than this, I think this is the position where you really, you tell them, hey, I like this receiver. Is it a good fit? Well, what team? Because if it's the Dolphins and it's a speedy guy, well, probably not. They probably could use more of a Debo type, right? Because they have speed. But if it's the Niners and they've got nothing but possession guys, damn, you better have somebody who can work the deep part of the field. Mike Glennon right here on the thing says Brandon Cooks. Somebody threw out Brandon Cooks and Devontae Adams as options because they have local ties. I did do an interview with Brandon Cooks a few years ago, and he grew up in Stockton as a Niner fan. So he is a hardcore Niner fan as a kid. So I always like that. I mean, I know that doesn't matter to a lot of people, but I like that angle. We have this one from Last Word on the Niners says Adams, Allen, Diggs, or Slayton.
Slayton would be my number one choice. That would be my first call.
That's what I was going to say. You were working towards Slayton there because you want experience and you want speed. I'll throw a couple more names. What do you think of Rondale Moore? And the only reason I asked that name is because I asked Shanahan about him when the Niners were, when Rondale was in the division and they were playing the Cardinals twice a year. And Shanahan had such incredible respect for Rondale Moore. And he's like, yeah, he's really a scary guy to defend. We have a hard time getting him on the ground. You got to know where he's at all times. He's a jack of all trades. They can throw it to him short. They can go down the field to him. I know he's coming off an injury, but Rondale Moore, Tutu Atwell, McCole Hardman are all fit those exact prerequisites that you have. Veteran,
all those guys have had their best games against the 49ers too.
Right, especially Hardman. I mean, Hardman on the goal line for Andy Reid has just been a revelation. The Niners cannot cover him. But, I mean, all three of those guys, I mean, you saw Tutu Atwell just absolutely go right by Mooney Ward in that 50-yard bomb in L.A. early in the year. That was a crusher in a game the Niners lost. That was a game the Rams didn't have Puka or Kupp, and still they beat the Niners because of DeMarcus Robinson and Tutu Atwell. And, so, maybe I kind of see it the same way. It's like, get some experience, get somebody who can run. I'll give you another name that I think is kind of a sleeper name. I was looking at the receivers. What do you think of Elijah Moore? For Cleveland, who's only 25, and he runs 4.34, and he was really good at Ole Miss, and he hasn't quite, for whatever reason, John, kind of hit his stride, but he's had moments where people are like, yeah, Elijah's coming. I think he could be like one of those, nobody's talking about him, but the Niner personnel department picks off a guy like that, and people are like, whoa, I never even considered him, What do you think of that name?
I love it. And, how many times are we in free agency press conference and you hear John Lynch or Kyle Shanahan say, this was a player we were really high on coming out of the draft. And if that's the case, Rondale Moore at Purdue, that tape was unbelievable. What he put up, heading into the draft. Hasn't stayed healthy, hasn't been used correctly. Well, Kyle Shanahan can. And you talk about Elijah Moore and those powder blue Ole Miss uniforms at running back. These are two guys, Rondale Moore and Elijah Moore, that they are guys that they could do that wide back stuff that Debo did. Are they Debo? There's nobody that's Debo. And so everybody, you're replacing Debo's value, but you're not replacing it with Debo. However, these guys have the versatility. You want them returning kickoffs for explosives? Check. You want them doing some change of pace handoffs in the backfield? Check. Jet sweeps? Check. And you're not going to lose anything on the route running that Debo. That's the one area where it's like, okay, these guys excel over Debo in route running and all those things. Now, after the catch, again, there's nobody that's going to do what Debo has done. But these are value plays that you could plug into the Debo role and still get some production. And I can guarantee you Rondale Moore is very high on the 49ers list. I guarantee it. And if they sign him, you're going to hear Shanahan say, we really liked him coming out of college. And, man, we just really liked him. It just fits. It's a square peg in a square hole. It makes sense.
Elijah Moore and Robert Saleh had a falling out?
Yeah, they did.
Did they?
Whenever he got traded from the Jets, right? There were some issues with the playbook and him not reporting soon enough. He's had some issues off the field, which is why he ended up in the island of misfit toys. That is the Cleveland Browns. And he had issues with multiple quarterbacks there too. Doesn't mean he's not going to be coached by Saleh if he comes here, but that is a negative. That is a negative.
Yeah, something to keep track of, keep note of. The other note that I thought was interesting, and I follow all these guys on Twitter. Daniel Jeremiah said, "I'm working my way through the wide receivers right now. Sign me up for Ole Miss wide receiver Trey Harris, polished, savvy dude." I really love Trey Harris. I mean, to me, Trey Harris in the second round. If you really wanted a receiver. That to me, that's the guy. Ole Miss has got a great run of receivers. This guy's got size. He's got hands. I've heard Lane Kiffin say like 5 times in different interviews this year, Trey Harris is the best wide receiver in college football. Now, obviously, he's backing his guy, but I agree with him. I think Trey Harris is a tremendous player, and the fact that Jeremiah is was so compelled to tweet that. I mean, these guys are very you and I take what we say seriously, but these guys take what they say incredibly seriously. And he wouldn't put that out there if he didn't just love Trey Harris. So that's another name to look at.
Real quick on Trey Harris, if you don't mind, one of the things that sets him apart in this draft, he might be like the truest pure receiver in this draft outside of Ted McMillan. Like, he is a true X. You just line him up. He's the vertical threat, 6'2", 200 plus pounds. Like, he is an X. So you have Ayuk signed long-term. Right now, Trey Harris would be awesome. He's got experience over 2,200 plus snaps, played for 2 teams. Like, I like that kid so much. What's the long-term plan with Brandon Ayuk and Trey Harris? Ayuk, I think, could play everywhere. He's more versatile. Trey Harris is an X, and I think he's an X only. I don't know if you feel that way. Like, I don't think you want Trey Harris in your flanker spot or your slot spot. Maybe you could. I don't know. You know more about this than I do. But I'm just like, man, it's not a bad thing to have 2 X's.
No,
But
no. I mean, especially since you don't know what you're getting from IU.
right.
And it's interesting. So Jeremiah I'm working my way through the wide receivers right now. Sign me up for Ole Miss wide receiver Trey Harris, polished, savvy dude. Matt Miller, who's was just had on the show last week, ESPN's NFL draft guy. Shouts out to Jeremiah. I was so bummed he was out when I saw them in person. He's a plug and play player. And then Jeremiah shot back with, he's got a natural feel. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting.
He's talent. He's just packed with talent, man.
Yeah, very, very talented. All right, let's get to the Niner offensive line. This is, I don't know how you feel about it, but it's Trent Williams at left tackle. Is he coming back or not? That's an answer they have to get from Trent, I would say, already. But then there's Banks, who's a free agent. Feliciano's a free agent. Jalen Moore's a free agent. Ben Barch is a free agent. Charlie Heck is a free agent. So all you have is you have Trent and you have Brendel. I'm not impressed by Brendel. I'd like to upgrade from Brendel. Dom Pooney's there. You got McKivitz under contract. You still have Nick Zakel, Spencer Burford, Matt Hennessy. They signed. They like him. They brought in Austin Pleasance at the end of the year. They still have him. I know they're big fans of Charlie Heck, but as I said, he's a free agent. I know they like Ben Barch, and he's also a free agent, but neither of those guys are going to get significant money. And then other than that, they have Drake Nugent on the practice squad, and they picked up Jalen McKenzie, and they still have the international player Isaac Alarcon. What do you think of the Niner O-line? And this is a major spot for improvement.
So the 49ers fandom and whatever, we're going to say there's a giant gap between what the fans see and what the 49ers see. The 49ers seem relatively content with what they have in the offensive line. And I know that drives everybody crazy. It is frustrating. I think that there are some major needs that you have to address while you can on this offensive line. And hopefully you bring back Jalen Moore. I would like him to come back as, the left tackle replacement. Trent's going to miss a couple games every year. He's the oldest offensive lineman in the NFL. Like, that's going to happen. I would like to bring back Jalen Moore, but you've got to upgrade the center position, and you've got to upgrade at some point the tackle position. The long-term replacement for Trent or Colton McKivitz is not on this roster. Is there a true left tackle in this draft? Yeah, that's a question. There's a lot of right tackles. I think, and again, I know I might be on an island on this one. Kelvin Banks Jr. of Texas, I think he's the only kind of predominant long-term left tackle. Josh Simmons maybe, but he's got an ACL. So I think that kind of pulls him out of the number 11 sweepstakes for the 49ers.
He's a huge talent. The only question, I think Banks is going to be gone. I think Banks and Campbell are going to be gone.
Probably offensive tackles get pushed up every single draft in the history of mankind. Yeah. There is a deficit in the NFL of talent at the left tackle and right tackle spots. So they always, quarterbacks, offensive tackles, edge players get pushed up every single draft, regardless. But you've got to infuse talent at this position. Do they keep going with this? Well, we're going to spend third-round picks and fourth-round picks and hope we hit home runs like they did with Dominique Pooney? Or do they invest a day one, day two pick, first, second-round pick in this offensive line trenches? I sure as hell hope they do.
Yeah, Drew Dahlman is a hot name that Niner fans are clamoring for in free agency. I think people are kind of tired of the Brendel experiment. But there's no question they talk Brendel up quite a bit. All right, so there we go. We broke down the offensive side of the ball, and what we're going to do, I'll stop sharing on that. What we're going to do is we're going to do a quick mock right now, and we're going to just do offense. Since we just looked at the offensive side of the ball, we're going to look at now. We're going to go into the draft, and John and I have done a few mocks, but we're gonna do a mock here, and we're just going to look at offense unless we see something overwhelming on defense. And this time we're going to go with the NFL, the Pro Football Network NFL mock draft simulator, and we are ready to roll. So here we go. Here we go. And I'm going to give John, you can have the first pick or I can have the first pick. We'll go back and forth, and we can still make trades if you want to make trades. But who do you want to go first? Do you want to go number one, or do you want to go round one, or you want to go round two?
Sure. I'll take round one because I already see my guy, and I just brought him up. And this is Look, the only two players I would trade up for this draft, which I don't think there's a possibility of either one, to be honest with you, is Abdul Carter and Mason Graham. If those are my only two trade ups. However, there is a third player that if they are there at 11, I'm running the card in. I'm not listening to trade offers. And that's offensive tackle Kelvin Banks Jr., who I think is the premier left tackle prospect of this class. I don't put him anywhere near the offensive tackles that have gone number one overall in the past, but I'm going to OT Kelvin Banks Jr., offensive tackle.
It'll be very popular move. And if he's there, I think, and medically, I guess that would be my only question. Does he check out medically with, all the different things that, you can look into? That would be my only question because I really like him. His film is really clean. He's powerful. He's a blue chipper. He's a plug and play guy. He's a guy who's going to play 10 years in the NFL.
And he'd start left guard year one, and then when Trent leaves, you bump him out.
Yeah, and he could just be, a foundation piece for the 49ers. And we're talking about a guy who could be a 49er for a long, long time. All right, so now we are at 43. Let's see what trade offers we get here. Minnesota get two offers, 43 and our 6 to move back for 97 and a second and a third. I'm going to reject that. I want to focus on this year's draft. Now this one might be too hard to.
That's a Jerry Jones trade if there ever was one.
Yeah, I think I'm doing this one. This is the Cowboys have called, and they want you to move back one spot. And if you give them your last pick, you know what? Jerry's so desperate. Let's counter and get rid of the 255 and see if they still do it.
You sly dog, you.
Look at you. Look at this.
I love it. We want to keep it.
Yes, and he accepted it. He accepted it because he's Jerry. Jerry's going to Jerry. So we just moved back one spot, and we picked up an extra 4th-round pick next year, and he took a player I didn't want anyway, JT Tuamoloau from Ohio State. So now we're still on the board. And let's take a look at the trade offers again. Minnesota's offering 97, 161. No, I don't want to do that. And that's the only offer. Okay, so now we're looking at the board, and we're thinking offense. So let's go offense over here. We'll just take defense off the board and just look at offensive players. Now you went offensive line. Now the Niners, in the 1 year went with Anthony Davis and Yapati in the same breath. So
we picked 11 that year too, by the way. We were picking 11 that year.
So this kid Zabel was so damn good at the Senior Bowl, but then in the game, I thought he didn't look good in the game, which always worries me because the practices, it's one thing to be good in practice. It's another thing to be good in the game. A lot of people like a lot of these guys. Let's see. You know what? It's a really interesting year. Wow. If you take out the defense, it really changes things.
It does.
It really changes things. But I love those running backs, but it's too good of a running back draft. I love Emory Jones, but I think in this breakdown, I think I'm going offensive line again, but I think I'm going to go with, or no, I think I'm going. I love the Jason Taylor's kid, the tight end Mason Taylor from LSU. I just think he's such a blue chip player. I think he's going to be a great, great player. Do I pass on him? Do I go for Tez, who's a tiny little receiver, but he's definitely. Do I Scatabo? But it's early for Scatabo. I love Belton, but man, it's a little early for Belton. So I do love Belton. Man, it's tough. Now let me just take a peek at the defense. Just I know we're not going defense, but I just want to peek over here.
Jahdae Barron's sitting there, man. I like him.
Landon Jackson would be really, really intriguing here. But let's stick with the offense. I think it's time to go double up on the offensive line, and I'm going to go with Emory Jones.
Oh,
I just think he's long, he's athletic. I love the way he looked in the one-on-ones. He's a really, really long, projectable tackle who I think is going to play 15 years in the NFL. I really love him. Now we have Kelvin Banks and Emory Jones. We've gone offensive line back to back.
And you put Emory Jones as your swing tackle, and you let him learn right tackle, left tackle. You put Kelvin Banks at left guard, and those could be your two tackles of the future. Like that is And the whole idea of this, everybody, Larry and I were talking beforehand. What are some offensive targets that you can get in every single round? That's the idea.
Right.
Are the Niners
Right.
going to do this? No.
Right.
But these names are making sense, man. I ain't mad at this pick, Larry, at all.
Yeah. I mean, this is a kid that he's got unbelievable projectability. I mean, the weight that he's walking around at now, this guy's got a frame where he could easily put on 15 or 20 pounds and you wouldn't even notice. I think if the right coaching, the right room, you put him with Chris Forster, who I really do believe is a very, very good O-line coach. You put him in a room with Trent Williams. How are you not going to respect the greatest tackle in the league today who's going to Canton? To me, you've got a proving ground, and we just drafted two big-time guys. I really am a believer. It's the reason I want to re-sign Greenlaw. I'm a real believer that football is a sport that how you do as a player is a lot of time predicated on who your coach is and who's in the room with you. If you got a bunch of dogs with fleas in the room with you, you're going to be a dog with fleas. If you got a great coach, you're going to probably be a great player. If you have if Jerry Rice is there as your example, odds are you're going to really get the most out of your ability, because if you don't, you're going to look like a absolute idiot next to Jerry. And I just think you put a couple of big, young, talented offensive linemen in a room that has Trent Williams, and a really good coach. I think that's setting you up for success. So there we go. You're up at 75. Here are the offers. Philly's offering. You still have that 255 that you didn't give to Dallas. So Philly's offering to move up basically 20 spots and offering their third round pick. And then Denver's calling. They want to move up 10 spots.
I like that pick a lot more.
And they're giving you their third, but they also want pick 189. They're giving you their third next year.
I just want to hide those. I might come back to that Denver trade. I would do the Denver trade over the other one personally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see what's available. You got the running back, Travion Henderson. Your tight end, Mason Taylor, still there. Tez Johnson, still there. Man, Elijah
Scatabo. A lot of people like Scatabo. Do you like Quinn Ewers?
I'm not. So Quinn Ewers has to go to a Shanahan system. He has to. Like, that is the only place where he will be successful. I'm not taking him this early. He'll probably go in the second to third round. Fifth round, I'm like, okay, this is some good value, but very low ceiling, which is crazy for a number one player coming out of high school. He
was a 5-star, man. He was a 5-star at South Lake.
It just, I'm a Longhorn, and I'm sorry.
Yeah,
he's good.
That's what I'm asking.
Thankful, but I'm good. If I could get him in the fifth round, cool. But nah, he should go to the Saints. That's where he should go. Something like that. Man, I like the tight end spot, and I think that's kind of the biggest need. I see Mason Taylor there. What are your thoughts?
There's also the Miami kid. Well, he had a great Senior Bowl. I mean, there's no question he looked great at the Senior Bowl. I don't think he's quite as physically gifted as Taylor. I think Taylor's a little bit more physically gifted. And there's other guys on this list, too. I mean, Ferguson was really solid. This kid, Briningstool from Clemson's very athletic, very underrated athlete. Mitchell Evans, very productive. The Iowa tight end is always, they're well coached. I don't know about how good of a prospect Lachey is, but he's definitely well coached. I love Conyers, who started at ASU. I love this kid, Jackson Hawes. He made a couple one-handed catches. He's really smart. He started at Yale. He transferred to Georgia
tight
Tech.
End blocker. I'll take that all day.
Yeah,
he played the triple option. I'm in.
Prieskorn from Ole Miss he's a house. Urasek. I mean, this is a really good position. There's a lot of good players at tight end for sure. I'll say this. We talked earlier about needing two tight ends, and I'm going to go tight end here, and I'm going to go with the movable tight end spot, more of a H-back. I'm going to go Mason Taylor, LSU. 6'4", 250, versatile, can do a little bit of everything, but the hands are incredible. Had 55 receptions last year, and I'm going to try to buttress that with a bigger blocking tight end 3 option later in this draft. But I want that move piece that can catch the ball and probably not be a George Kittle replacement. I think Kittle's going to be here for a while, but if Kittle goes down, you can still run all the routes with him. Mason Taylor, tight end. I really like that pick in the third. Yeah, that's good. I like that too. I like that one too. All right, so now we're at pick number 99. let's just take a look at who the top players are on the board across the board. Jared Wilson is a bulldozer center. There's no question. He's a big boy, very athletic. And Jake Majors was what do you think of Majors at Texas?
Love Majors.
Yeah,
Absolutely
he's a solid player. I love his fire too. He's always looking to knock somebody down. If you're one of these pile observation guys on defense, Jake Majors is going to absolutely smoke you because he comes
People hate
flying
playing
late.
him. People hate playing against him.
Guard wise, let's see, Dellinger, Kendra, Frazier. I don't see the talent there. Tackle, Belton's still there. Gosh, man, do I go third offensive lineman and play one of those guys at guard? I mean, I will say this. Anthony Belton's 345 pounds, and I think the 49ers would like to get bigger in the offensive line, and I love Belton. I also love this guy, Carson Vincent, who's just a gigantic.
Those arms.
It's just a ridiculous. And I love this kid, J.C. Davis from McClymonds. So those are the offensive tackles, but we've already gone double offensive tackle. Tight end is great value, and you got a bunch of good choices there. Receiver.
You don't have a receiver yet.
I know. And here's the thing. I think I could be going receiver here, but there's such a good running back draft, too. The receiver that I just absolutely am in love with is Ricky White from UNLV. Why? Because the backup receiver is going to have to play special teams. This guy, John, blocked 4 punts this year. And that was more than any team in FBS blocked as a team. And this guy had 4 by himself. And he's 6'1", 190. He's got good speed. I think he started at Michigan State and transferred. He was really good as a freshman. I really like Ricky White. But I also am staring at Cam Scatabo, who's kind of like my juice replacement. I also like Bashul Tootin. He's a return man. Then there's the quarterback sitting there. I could get Ewers and have a really talented young quarterback.
He fits our scheme perfectly. No doubt about that.
I love Monangi, but it's a little early for him, and I've got multiple picks, I think, between now and then. Let me see. Yeah, I picked 138, 139, so it's like I could probably get Monangi later. I think I'm going with Ricky White.
Get your
dude, I'm going Ricky White from UNLV. I mean, I'll take those 4 block punts every day, all day. Look at it this way. If the guy plays special teams for you and blocks 2 punts, it's going to be like, wow, what an impact. So this guy blocked 4 in college, and I love his game. I mean, he's not just a special teamer. He's got some real game. So I'll go Ricky White there. It's probably a little bit of an overdraft, but we're an all offensive mock. All right, you're at 112, and here are the offers. 112 and 255 to move.
I'm taking that trade. I don't have to look at anything. I would take that trade in a heartbeat. You drop down 6 to jump up 70. Yeah.
I'm doing that.
That's
one of those like, hey, why wouldn't we do that? Okay, so now you're at
click on quarterbacks for me real quick. Quarter.
Yeah. You've got Dylan Gabriel, Riley Leonard, Kyle McCord.
If Will Howard was there, I would have taken Will Howard.
He just went.
I would have taken Will Howard. That trade cost us. Look at that. General Manager Chapman fails us.
Some people would probably chastise me for not going Scatabo with the last pick, but I don't know if I see a special NFL player in Scatabo. I know he was a great college player. I don't know if I see special pro player. Those are the tight ends.
What about center? I'm thinking center or running back. We haven't addressed yet. All right. I'm seeing my guy here. I already took one Longhorn player, so I'm not going to do that again. Instead, I'm going to go with Seth McLaughlin, center. Ohio State, who got injured. Let's just be very, very honest. Didn't play a lot, but versatility, player IQ, pass protection, guard center versatility, 6'4", 305. I really, really like him. I want to bolster that offensive line. So we got 2 offensive tackles and a center. And again, just looking at all of these offensive targets in each one of these rounds, that's the goal today.
Yep, the goal is working at only offense today. If you're sitting there going, what about the defense? Yeah. We need passer. Guys, we're just going offense today. We're just going to go offensive mock. All right, so now we're at pick 138, and let's go offense. The highest rated offensive players are right here. And we're in the beauties of the eye of the beholder, but I'm not going to wait any longer. I love this back. This is Kyle Monangi.
Get him.
From Rutgers. I mean, the The contact balance is off the charts. Off the charts. I mean, this guy gets knocked around and he just doesn't ever go down. If you get a chance, YouTube him. You can't knock him off his pins. He's an incredible player. So now we are, let's see, let me just go up here, take a look at our picks. This is what we have so far. Wait a second, that's every pick. Wait a second, let me go up a little bit higher. My picks, there we go. So we have Kelvin Banks, Emory Jones, the tight end Mason Taylor, the wide receiver Ricky White, the center Seth McLaughlin, the running back Kyle Monangi, and we still have 4 more picks, and we picked up Dallas's 4th-round pick. So it's going well.
I'm happy.
Yeah. What do you want to? What position you want to look at here now?
Wide receivers. I think we need another wide receiver that I want to see. Oh, seeing some good names there. Scroll back up just a little bit if you don't mind.
That's the top one.
Let's talk about Kobe Hudson. 6'1", 200. Experience, versatility routes, produces, can play all 3 wide receiver spots. You remember me going my rant earlier of I want somebody that can play spots because we're going to have to move them around. 2,400 plus snaps. I like him a lot. I'm going to go Kobe Hudson, UCF wide receiver. I like him. I really do.
I haven't not looked at him, so I'll definitely study him at the end. I want to take a look at him. So Kobe Hudson is gone, and that means that we are at, where are we at? We're at pick number 189.
We got 3 left. We got 3 left.
3 picks left. We're at 189. Let's take a look. All offense.
We don't have our number 2 tight end.
Nope.
And outside of that, we don't have a quarterback. We've gotten every other position.
Okay, so at this point, I think this is where the part in the draft where I think if you're a really good team, you start to stay, where is the draft deep, and has anybody fallen? And to me, where the draft is, the fallen, you got to decide on the fly because obviously you don't know until the draft happens. But you know what the deepest positions are before the draft. And to me, the deepest positions are running back, defensive tackle, and tight end. In this draft that I see. So I'm looking for running back, defensive tackle, or tight end probably once I get to this range of the draft because that's where the best players are. And of course you're always looking for who falls. Now, to me this is a tough one because Mitchell Evans is a really good tight end, I think. Notre Dame went to him a lot. I mean, he's a good receiver. Now he did tear the ACL. But that was his junior year. He came back his senior year, had a great year. But I'd want to check out that ACL at the combine for sure. RJ Harvey is a very productive running back for UCF. Would we go back to back with UCF
back-to-back
players?
Central Florida Knights, baby.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, RJ Harvey is powerful, compact. Taj Brooks is also a really good back. Devin Neal is a really good back. So I mean, there's a lot of, but you know what? I'm going to go with my guy here. No, I'm not going to. I'm not going to go with him here because I got one last pick. He's probably going to be there. Well, no, he's already not going to be there. I'm going to go with him right here because I got to have him. Goodbye, Jake Brendel. And if it's not goodbye, Jake Brendel, it's going to be goodbye, Juszczyk. Because to me, my pick here, Willie Lampkin, he's listed as a guard. He could play center. I love this kid, and I love the fight. But I think this could be a dominant goal line fullback. I think this guy could be a tremendous fullback. He's an all-world wrestler who was just a dominant wrestler, and then he went to Coastal Carolina. My buddy Rick Mueller recruited him. Then he moved over to North Carolina. He looked great in the all-star practices against some big-time players, and he's just tough. He's just super tough. He's just the kind of guy that I want him. I either want him as a backup offensive lineman, but I really want him as a fullback. JJ Pegues would be another guy that I like as a fullback, but I love Willie Lampkin. It says guard, but look at fullback, and there we go. John, you're up. It's pick number 195. And
like I said, I want that. I want 2 tight ends this offseason. And this is, like you said, one of the deepest position. I'm going tight end Jackson Hawes, Georgia Tech, transfer from Yale, physical blocker, played in the option style, the triple option style. He knows how to block, and I'm going to pair him with, who we took earlier, Mason Taylor from LSU. And so you got your receiving option, and now you got your tough kind of blocker option at tight end. I like Jackson Hawes.
No, I do too. I really do too. So now let's go back to the last pick. We're 228 here. And now you're truly looking for what player that you love fell, because there's always somebody. And let's take a look. Carson Vincent. Oh, Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt. Oh, my gosh. But
you like that guy.
I love him. Yeah, he's terrific. Elijah Badger's a really underrated receiver. Brees Corn's a good tight end. Chisholm. Tyler Shugg. Urasek. God, do you go... You know what? Mario Anderson is a tremendous back. Gosh, this is a really tough one. Drew Shelton from Penn State is still there. That's, you know what? We've already got, though, 2 interior offensive linemen, and we got 2 tackles. We got 4 offensive linemen.
I love it.
We got a receiver. Let's check the receiver board just top to bottom here, see if there's any receiver. I like this kid Chisholm a little bit, but he's kind of small. I'm interested to see what Arian Smith runs, because if he runs in the 4.2s, man, that would be a nice pick right here, just to have that speedster. I know they met with Rock Taylor from Memphis. Dante Thornton is an interesting receiver, but it's not a great receiver draft.
No.
So, the odds are that most of these guys are not going to make it. I mean, I would say most of the guys I'm looking at here are not going to make an NFL team. I do love Jordan Watkins. Are you familiar with Jordan Watkins?
No, but he's one of the Mississippi guys, so I know this is your backyard.
Yeah, I mean, let me just tell you what this guy did, because this is an amazing player. This guy for Ole Miss this year in a game. I want to call up his game log just to quote this, because it's freaking nuts. This guy was so good. Now, obviously, we love Trey Harris. Trey Harris, a tremendous player. But this guy, Jordan Watkins, caught 49 balls this year for 906 yards and 9 touchdowns. But his game log, listen to a couple of these games. In the bowl game, the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl against Duke, he caught 7 balls for 180 yards and 2 touchdowns. Okay.
Niners love players that overperform in crucial games. They target those guys big time on offense.
Listen to this one. Now maybe I'm biased because I watched this game, okay? Against Arkansas in November, he caught 8 balls for 254 yards and 5 touchdowns.
5?
5 touchdowns. That's pretty fat. So even though there's a lot of good running backs out there, I'm going to go Jordan Watkins.
Get your
the
guy.
Receiver from Ole Miss. So there you go. There's our draft. There it is, start to finish. And you know what? I thought it was going to be very limiting, and that we wouldn't necessarily get good prospects. But man, I mean, this would not be the worst draft. I mean, granted, they have a bunch of needs on defense, and that's real, and they're going to have to address some of those. But, man, if you could somehow build up your offensive line with Kelvin Banks, Emory Jones, and Seth McLaughlin, and Willie Lampkin, you get an interior guy. You've added here at least 3 offensive linemen, maybe 4. You've added 2 tight ends, one in Mason Taylor, the other in Jackson Hawes. You added 2 receivers who can both run and help on special teams. Actually, 3 receivers.
Yeah.
You added a running back in Monangi, who I think could be fantastic. Yeah, I mean that's and you got Dallas's 4th round pick from next year. That's not bad. It's a 10-man draft class, plus you added Dallas's 4th round pick next year. I like it. And Banks, to get Kelvin Banks at 11, I don't know if that's realistic, because I think when people start to look at how good his film is, and if he checks out physically, I think he could go 6, 7, 8 in front of them. But in this mock, he was there. It's a little heavy on LSU. And we got to let's see how many SEC guys we got. 1, 2, 3, only 3 SEC. Or I guess
Texas now.
Texas
They're in
now.
there.
4. Yeah, I keep thinking.
Not
Texas
bad
is
for
Big
an
12.
offense-only draft. That was fun. This is fun.
Seriously,
I
that was a good one. That was good. John, we'll hit a couple of these supers before we jump out. We got this one, sports fan. It's not a super. He says, I'm trading back if I can get to 15, 16 and going Walter Nolan. To me, based on the board that I see, I think that would probably be a really good game plan. You move back a few spots, you get a couple extra picks, and you take a proven player like Nolan. I really do like that plan from sports fan there.
I if you can, and now the strength of this class, if you're going to trade down, you got to have a partner. Who wants to trade up and for what? That's the issue. And if again, I think there's 3 players that, Abdul Carter's gone, Macy Graham's gone, Kelvin Banks is a possibility. If those 3 are gone, I want to trade back as well. Even if you trade back and miss out on a Walter Nolan and you get somebody like an Armand Mimbu, I would totally be fine with that as well. I think that's where the value is, and I think that's what most Niners fans are hoping for. It's just, is there somebody that wants to trade up? That's the question.
Yep. And KR says, Dear Jed, pay Brock yesterday. #BrockStar, #homegrown. He could be bigger than Curry. Get an O-line. Even Mahomes needs an O-line. Yeah, I mean, if there was a takeaway. Yeah, we'll finish on that note, John, since this is our first stream since Super Bowl Sunday. On the way out the door here, this guy's takeaway is even Mahomes needs an O-line. Some people's takeaway was like, hey, man, the Eagles really drafted a lot of defensive linemen, and Al Sacco had a breakdown this week of how the Niners only drafted 4 offensive linemen or 4 defensive linemen in the last 5 drafts, and that maybe the takeaway is look at Philly's D-line, go draft a D-line. Give me your takeaway from Super Bowl 59 that the Niners can kind of use as motivation or something that they can use as a template to kind of rebuild.
You went in the trenches. It doesn't matter if you have the best quarterback, best coach, best defensive coordinator. It doesn't matter. If you build and win in the trenches, you control the tempo of the game as long as you're committed to the run game. Kyle Shanahan. Got to stay committed. The Eagles ran the ball 45 times. Chiefs 11.
When was the last time Kyle Shanahan in a big game ran the ball 67% of the time when he wasn't running it well? Because that's the other thing you didn't mention. But Philly wasn't running it particularly well, but they stayed with the run. I guess my takeaway would be if Jalen Hurts can win a Super Bowl, Brock Purdy can win a Super Bowl. They're very similar. You can surround Brock with a real powerhouse offensive line like we just built in this mock draft. If you can surround him with some good weapons, a few more dynamic weapons, and a better defense, Brock Purdy can be your Super Bowl winning quarterback, and there's no doubt in my mind. That's going to do it for us. We're an hour and 12 minutes in. Thanks to everybody. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle. Thanks to our good friends at BetUS. John, tell people where they can find you on the 49er Rush podcast and all the things that you put out there in the social media world. Where's the best place to find you and keep up with you if they want to?
Yeah, probably most active on Twitter at JL_Chapman. But if you want to listen to the show, watch the show, just type in 49ers Rush wherever you watch and or listen. We're available everywhere. I think our next episode is episode 1336. So we've been doing it for a little bit, Larry. But yeah, come join us. I can always just say, whenever I record with Larry, I learn something new every single time. And I just really appreciate this time and just appreciate what you do for everybody, Larry. Thanks for having me.
Hey, man, I appreciate you. This is one of the original OGs on the YouTube side as far as Niner content creation is concerned. Love streaming with John. Hopefully we'll see you next week. Have a great week, everybody. Go Niners. For John, I'm Larry. Peace.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of.